Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're going to take a look at an abstract strategy game called Ominoes. Now, it has an Egyptian theme that's kind of pasted onto it, but never fear, it is definitely just a pasted on theme. This is definitely an abstract strategy game, but it involves dice rolling, which seems kind of strange for an abstract strategy game. But let me get down to the table and I'll show you. So in a game of Ominoes, you're going to have a board which represents the playing surface here, and then a scoring track over here. Each player will sit at the board and will take on the color of the corner that's nearest to them. So one person will be APEP, trying to collect groups of the red serpent. Somebody will also be Kepri, the blue scarab, and they're going to be trying to collect blue scarabs on their dice. And then somebody will also be Ra and be collecting the yellow suns, and another person will be green, Horus, the green falcon. And then you also have two other faces of the die. You have Yera, which is the mover, and then you also have Amenhotep, the black serpent, on the die as well. And then each of the other four colors are represented on the die. The dice have printed faces, they're not etched, so that's kind of a downer, but etched would have been better. But we'll see. We'll see how they hold up. So basically on your turn, you're going to be taking one of the dice that are not already on the board and giving it a roll. If a color comes up, you'll look on the board to see if that color is already present somewhere on the board. You choose one of them and you can move them exactly 3 spaces. And when you move, it has to be orthogonal, and you cannot move through other pieces, other dice that are already on the board. So you can't move diagonal, but you can go like 1, 2, 3, like that. So you have to move that color 3. Then once you've done that, you take the one that you've rolled and you place it anywhere on the board that you like, and then that's your turn. Now, if you roll a Yera, you can choose which die that's already on the board you're going to roll. And then you may move them up to 3 spaces. Then you take this one and place it anywhere on the board, and it becomes a wild. It can be any color you want it to be. If you roll the Amenhotep, the black serpent, then you can take any of the dice that are on the board, re-roll it, and then place it back in the same spot. And then this die that you rolled also gets placed onto the board, and it also becomes a wild. What you're trying to do is score in a 3 or 4 player game 13 points. In a 2 player game, you're trying to score 21 points. And the way you do that is by getting your colored group of dice together, orthogonally adjacent to each other. And then once you get 4 or more, you get to score that many points. So if 5 of your color are grouped together orthogonally, then you would score 5 points, and so forth and so on. Okay, so now that I've rolled a mover, I can choose to move any of these things together. And we fast forward a little bit. It is Red's turn, so we're going to go ahead and move. We're going to go 1, 2, and then we're going to place this one right here. Since all of these are orthogonally adjacent, red scores that many points. So red will score 5 points, and then those are removed from the board, and then the game continues. And the game would continue that way until somebody in a 3 or 4 player game reaches 13 points, or in a 2 player game 21 points. And you simply score when you have those groups of 4, and that's it. Now, dice rolling and abstract strategy. The two really never meet, which is why this one was on my radar when we went to Essen last week. And it was also on my radar when I was at UKGE. That was the first time I got introduced to it. However, I didn't actually get the chance to play it there, so I made a point of making sure I did here well, rather there at Essen. So this is a strange little bird, because usually abstract strategy is all about knowing exactly what you're going to do, making the exact, very calculated moves and that type of thing. But this one, you roll your die, and then what comes up on your dice, that's when the decision making starts to happen. And that's what I liked about it. I don't like purely abstract strategy games because I'm not very good at them. I'll just go ahead and say that. Just be honest with you. But this one is one where I guess it just kind of hits my way of thinking a little bit better. I like having a starting point from which I can begin to make decisions in a relatively non-elementary way. So rolling the die, seeing what face comes up, and then having a certain choices that have to be made at that point. I like those kinds of abstract strategy games a little bit more than just the regular plain Jane ones. Now, the Egyptian theme on this one is really, it could not even be there. It could be shapes or whatever else you would want it to be, and it really wouldn't change the gameplay at all. So with that having been said, this is one that I enjoy for the quirkiness of it, because it's dice rolling and abstract strategy kind of thrown in together, which usually doesn't happen as far as I'm aware. The gameplay is very quick, very streamlined, I guess you could say, because when you roll the die, you'll have a few choices that you have to make, and those are relatively quick choices, because depending on your strategy, depending on what face of the die comes up, it's usually pretty clear what you need to do. But there are small nuances where you may want to see that somebody is about to get a grouping of 4 or more, and you want to break that grouping up. So you're hoping that you roll yay raw so you can choose which ones you move, and so forth and so on. So there is a very simple and yet semi-deep play that's going on here, because you usually do have a good idea of what you need to do, but sometimes you just might not be able to do it, and so now you have to figure out the back way to do what you wanted to do, but you can't go at it directly. You have to go around the side, and I like it when games give you that ability. This is not going to be for your average, I would imagine, abstract strategy game player, because this is probably going to be a little bit too chaotic and probably a little bit too light for you. But at the same time, if you're like me and you don't like those heavier, brain-burning abstract games, this might be right down your table, because it is very light, and it does have that chaos factor that's working for it with the dice rolling. So all in all, I'm going to give Ominoes 1.5 thumbs up. It's not my favorite abstract game, but it is pretty high up on the list. I don't have a whole lot of favorite abstract games anyway, so this one does rank kind of high on that abstract strategy meter for me, simply because it isn't very brain-burny. It takes all of 15 to 20 minutes to play, and it's got dice rolling in it, and I really enjoy dice rolling, even though it doesn't quite always work out for me. So that's Ominoes from Andrew Harmon at Yay Games. We'll see you on the flip side.